Hi crafters, this is Raquel with Paints and Glitter and I welcome you to my channel. Today I'm coming along with something a little bit different than the usual, and this is because I'm creating a home decor project using Spellbinders BetterPress system. What I have here is a piece of fabric and I'm just going to describe what's happening here, and I'm going to give you a little bit of some few pointers here and there, but this is not a sewing tutorial because this is a paper crafts channel generally speaking. However, as I always say in my tutorials, if you have a question, reach out and I'll be happy to help you out if you want to try something new, because I do encourage you to try something different every time, whether it be a different medium or just to have fun with your supplies. So what I've done here is that I wanted to create a home decor project. I decided to recycle a pillow that I was going to throw out, and what I did here is that I cut the pillow and I grabbed the fabric and I decided, okay, I don't want this to be too big, so I'm aiming for maybe a 7-inch square pillow. So in order to do so, I cut the fabric at 8¼ inches square, and then I did grab another piece of cotton, and this is just some cotton that I love to craft with, whether it be sewing projects, whether it be for quilting, anything like that. It's just a natural cotton and it's very lightweight and it's really easy to layer. So this is where I'm actually going to be applying the image that is from the Spellbinders Feathered Friends collection. And what I'm going to do is cut out a 6-inch square. That way I give myself at least a 2-inch edge all the way around on the little pillow that I'll be creating. So as you can see here, I'm using what's called a quilter's ruler. This ruler allows you to see your fabric, and because it's see-through, then you can really use it to square off any of the corners that you may need to cut away. So it's perfect for that. And then the background that you're seeing there in that dark gray is a self-healing mat. So anyone who sews or quilts knows all about these supplies. If you've never seen them, then this is what you would need for just basic sewing. And then that paper, or I'm sorry, that rotary cutter was a fabric rotary cutter. So here I have a piece of cardboard. It's not very thick, and there's that piece of cotton. I'm centering it on there, and that was just a leftover piece of cardboard that I had. And here are the BetterPress plates, again from Spellbinders. By the way, I do have a separate tutorial for you over at scrapbookpal, where you can watch me create some cards, and they're more of a masculine style card where I use the rooster from this collection because it does come with the rooster, the hen, the little chick, and 3 different sentiments. Today, I'm only using the hen, the little chick, and the sentiment that reads rise and shine. Not sorry about that. Rise and shine. However, it does come with 2 other sentiments. One of them is wishing you a beautiful day, and the other one says you're my favorite cockadoodle dandy. And what I'm doing here is I'm lining up these images the way that I think I want them to appear on that piece of fabric. Now, the fabric is very thin, as I mentioned before, so it wouldn't work on this plate. However, because I created that shim, then it's basically going to be as if I'm feeding a thick piece of watercolor card through this system. Now, what the system does is, as the name implies, is that it presses the image into your card. In this case, is going to press it into a piece of cotton fabric. So there I've used some archival ink, and it is permanent and waterproof when dry. So I got to thinking, why not use that for the cotton fabric in case it needs to be spot washed or cleansed, then that should do. And here I'm just using a little stylus because I accidentally did move the little phrase, and this plate, by the way, is magnetic, so it does hold on to those little press plates. However, if you happen to shift them around, then it's just as easy to move them back with a little stylus. And then I decided, of course, that more ink is better than less because I want a crisp image. So applying a little bit more until you see it nice and vibrant on that, then it's the best way to go about getting a really good result. So with a baby wipe, I just clean off anything that may have landed on the plate, and now it's time to secure this fabric to make sure that it doesn't accidentally shift or move or, get a blurry image. And how am I going to do that? Then what I did is that the BetterPress cover plate has these measurement guides that are perfect, and all you have to do is tack down your medium. So in this case, I took some of the adhesive from Spellbinders that you can get, and I think it's called the best adhesive ever or something like that. I can't remember right now, but it's really good, and it is low tack, but it's pretty strong at the same time. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but it really is. So all you have to do is flatten this out as much as possible. You don't want any bumps or lumps or creases on that fabric, and that's why I use that dry adhesive stick. So now that that's stretched on there, I'm simply going to feed this through my Spellbinders machine. So this will fit on both the larger one and the 6-inch one, which is the one, Platinum 6, I believe is the name of this one. So I will have all of the items that I have mentioned today, by the way, linked in the description bar of this video. So if you're curious as to how to work with this machine, you're going to notice how easy it is to do this on fabric. And if it's easy on fabric, it's 10 times easier on paper. So the results are phenomenal. So here's the reveal. I'm just going to lift this and you can see exactly what that image looks like. And let me tell you, I was so happy with this because it gave me exactly the results that I wanted. Now, I'm a mom of two boys, and I decided I'm the mama hen in this family. And I wanted two little chicks, not one. But the set only comes with one little chickie. So I decided, okay, I need another one because if not, then, it wouldn't be fair. So all I wanted to do was mark on the base plate where had I placed the first one so that I would know where to move it. And I thought maybe I would move it to the top quadrant, and then I changed my mind because, from a visual perspective, if you want something to look like a little grouping, it's always better to work in triangles. And if you know about design, then that will make sense to you. If not, then for a visual perspective, if you want something to appear a little bit closer, a little bit farther, then work in triangles. That's just a little tip I can give you. So, dry runs are always a good thing. I wanted to do that and make sure that I didn't accidentally ruin this, given all the spiel I just gave you, but I was happy with that, so I went ahead and added my ink now that I know that my little chick is in the right place, and that way it will look like happy little family there rather than just some random chicks on a piece of fabric. And I'm sorry, my sense of humor always seeps out, but I can't help myself. And now that I added the ink to that little chick, I'm going to do the same thing again, just placing this very gently. Now you notice that I went from the top to the bottom in the placement of that plate. I did that very purposely so that way I don't accidentally drop that fabric too quickly on that plate, and those magnets that it has on the four corners are excellent for that. So here's the second reveal. And voila, I'm so happy with this. I cannot even express to you. This is just for me a wonderful investment because I like to recommend products on this channel that will give you the best bang for your buck. And I think that this is one that I held out on for so long. I'm never quick to jump on any product when I see it released, just because I think back to how I learned to craft. And I think, okay, if it's a need, then okay, I can go ahead and get it. If not, then I'm just going to wait a while and see what other people say, right? Get some good reviews. But in this case, I wish I had gotten this sooner. So here's my finished image. I'm keeping it super simple. And then here's a piece of cotton batting. If you're not familiar with this, this is just a thin, natural piece of cotton that's going to give this that little cushiony look as if it were quilted. And now I'm taking a piece of ribbon that is checkered because I'm going for a very homespun look on this. And it happens to be wired on one side, not I'm sorry, it's wired ribbon. However, I'll be removing one of the wires in this video because I was thinking that I might ruffle it on the corners or something like that. I don't know. But I ended up changing my mind. However, what's important here is that I'm folding the ribbon in half longwise, and I'm going to be tacking this on to the edge of this square on the wrong side of the square. So in case you want to give this a try and you've never sewn, this is a super easy project, even though it's not a sewing tutorial. But of course, if you want to reach out, I'm available. You can ask me any questions and I can help you through it. But what you want to be mindful of whenever you're adding something to the edge of a piece of fabric is that you need 45-degree angles on the corners. It's very much like paper crafting, in fact. So what I did here is that I measured out what I thought I would need. I folded that ribbon in half and I took off one of the wires, not the other, again, because I had a thought in my mind of where this was going, but I ended up changing my mind as I was sewing it. But here is just how you can remove the wire. I figured I'd leave this in the video in case you've never done it, then you could at least see how easy this is. And you can create some really amazing ruffles, by the way, just by doing this and then tacking it. But I decided to just keep it nice and simple. So again, I'm going to be adding this onto the edge of that fabric. So I'm going to be tacking this down about a half inch in from the edge all the way around. And then I'm also going to be creating the little corners, and what you'll see in a minute is once I sew this, how I ended up doing the little corners. I basically just sewed from the center out, but it's going to be easier to describe when you see the actual little clip. So here I'm folding it away from the square and then back toward the square, and that's that 45-degree angle I was describing. So it's going to create a little bit of a fold there, but all you do is take a pin and then tack this down onto the fabric that you're sewing onto, and it makes it super easy to complete that little turn, if you will. But here's how you could sew that. So if you see there, I did stitch this all the way around, and you see the needles, or the pins, I'm sorry, they're holding the corners. And I wanted to show you this corner in particular. So there's how I went ahead and sewed that piece of ribbon together. And now I'm going to take this back to the sewing machine, and on those little corners, because I have them pinned down, I'm actually going to sew from the very center of the corners out toward the edge. So once I had the fabric, the ribbon, I'm sorry, the way that I wanted it, I just took this right back to the sewing machine, and what I did is to sew all the way around, and this was after pinning that ribbon so that it folded toward the inside. And this way I could have a nice little edge around my image. And what I'm doing here is sewing as close to the edge as possible of that ribbon using a quilter's foot. So this is another way to be able to sew through several layers of fabric very easily. So if you're not familiar with that, then I highly recommend it if you're going to start sewing at any time, is to always invest in a quilter's foot. It's just a lot of fun. But in any case, I'm just going all the way around the edge of this, and it's going to tack onto the very first layer, which was the first square that I had cut out. And it's super easy. It's just a nice straight line if you can manage a straight line. If you can't, then you make homespun projects like me. So, in any case, I think you have to, strive for perfection, but if you don't reach it, forgive yourself and move on because no one is going to notice, to be completely honest. So here I'm just going all the way around here, and I did do some decorative stitching on that little image, so you'll be able to see that in a moment. Because again, if you can't sew a straight line, just act like you did it on purpose and it'll look adorable. So here I'll be able to take this off and you'll see there some of that decorative stitching that I was referring to, kind of zigzaggy and all the good things. And now what I did was that I pinned the second piece on top of that initial square. So what you do is you pin right sides together, sorry. So the pretty image will face the inside of the pillow and then you place the other square on top and you want to sew all the way around, but leave yourself a little pocket hole there so that you can fill this in. So that's what I'm referring to there. And now I'm going to make use of my bone folder to straighten this out so that I can fill it. And I love that I can also use other items in my craft arsenal here to do more than one thing, and this is one of them. So here I'm just flipping this inside out now so that it's pretty side out. And what I'll end up doing is using some pillow filler to fill this as much as possible. And then I'm going to hand stitch it closed. So again, because this isn't technically a sewing tutorial, I'm not going to show all of the steps, but that is what I end up doing to create this darling little pillow. And as you can see, you get a sneak peek of another one that I created there on the top right hand side of your screen. But essentially there's that little corner there that I'll end up hand stitching. And what I do suggest for something like this is because this is actual thick fabric that is meant for cushions, that you double up on the thread. So here's that finished pillow, and now I decided that I wanted to add a little bit more. So I got out a really old little stamp that I happen to have, and it's a little rubber stamp of some little tiny hearts, and I decided that this would look really adorable together with that pillow. I have some antique buttons as well, so I did thread some twine through one of them, and here I'm going to grab some Distress Oxide ink that happens to be in Vintage Photo, sorry, I had to think of the name. So I did use a little sponge from Nuvo to add just a tiny bit of that, again, just to kind of ground that image, make it look a little bit more old-timey, antique look. So you can add as little or as much of that, of course, to these types of projects as you like to. And if you don't like the idea of it at all, then you can, of course, omit it. But I'm just going around the edges, and I also did fray the fabric along the edges on purpose, again, so that it would look a little bit more homey and vintage, if you will. So here I'm just gauging where I'm going to be adding this button, and because it is a home decor project, you can use Fabri-Tac if you'd like to. You can hand stitch it, or you can do as I will be doing here, which is just to take a glue gun and I'm just going to adhere this. Glue guns do come with different glue sticks, so you can get one that's specifically for fabric. If you're going to make more than one project, then I would recommend that. As you can see, I just created a little knot in that little strip of cotton, which happens to be the same cotton that I had used for that initial image. So here I'm going to be adding it to the back of that button with a generous amount of adhesive there. And now I'm just going to group these together, and that will be adorning the top left-hand corner of this pillow. And again, you could sew it instead if it's easier for you. I just wanted to make sure that I decorated this a little bit further, and I purposely left the tails of that twine nice and long so that I could drape it over the image. And then I'm just going to be tacking these down with a very tiny little drop of hot glue as well. And of course, if you're using Fabri-Tac, you could use a tiny little drop of that instead. And I do go back off camera and I took my stylus and I kind of poked the little pillow a little bit so that I could move the stuffing where I wanted it. I know that it doesn't look exactly square at this moment, but there are different techniques. If you've ever made any kind of dolls or anything like that, then you know that there's different ways that you can move the stuffing inside of what you have created. But here I'm just going to cut away that little piece of tail that I didn't like, and that way you can kind of shape a pillow very nicely. So here is a little cloth pin, a garment pin is what they're known as, and that happens to be from Tim Holtz. And I just placed three little buttons there that I had in my collection of antique buttons. Two of them are opalescent or pearl, and then the third one was a nice bright red. So I really love the way that that turned out. And then the next step that I took for this little pillow was to add a little bit of more splatter. That way it would have, again, more of that kind of country homespun look. So I did take some acrylic black paint that I happen to have. I watered it down a little bit and I took an old brush and I just splattered that fabric. So this is of course optional as well, but I think it looks really pretty. And there you see also the other little pillow in the corner. I'll be doing that with that one as well. And that one, what I did was that I did more of a decorative stitch around the perimeter of it. So you're going to see it in a moment there. So what I did with that one is I took some brown ink and I went ahead and transferred the image of that little chick 3 times in a vertical fashion with the sentiment Rise and Shine. I added 3 mother of pearl buttons. I also frayed the edges and this was my result. So I do hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial. I look forward to reading your comments and let me know whether or not you'll be trying this also. I think I'll be doing this quite often because it makes adorable little home decor projects. Don't forget that all of the items listed will be available in the description bar of this video. And as I always say, I do hope that you can be inspired, be blessed, and I thank you so much for watching.